In this video, I will show you how to make melodic techno like Mrak. Mrak is the solo project of Carmine Conte, who is one half of the famous Italian duo Tale of Us. He's mostly known for his dark and cinematic melodic techno and very interesting live performances. And today I will break down how you can make a track in a style similar to Mrak. I will go over all the essentials such as the kick and the bass, the synths, arrangement, mixing and more. All the sounds that I'm using in this video come from our latest melodic techno producer pack Voyage, which has serum presets, a sample pack, vocals, project files and so much more. If you want to support the pack or find more information about it, then use the link in the description or click the link over here, which goes to our website theproduceschool.com. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and with that being said, let's get straight into this. The first thing I'm going to do is to set the tempo to 124 BPM, which is a great starting point for melodic techno. I'm going to start with the kick and the bass, so let's search for a nice kick right now. I'm looking for a deep kick with some nice punch, so let's check out some of the kicks from our Voyage pack. I really like this one. It has a lot of punch, but I think it can work. Let's put it in here. Like this. For the bass line, I'm going to create a 1/16 note rolling bass, as you can hear in a lot of modern melodic techno tracks, in Mrak's tracks as well. I'm using this preset from our Voyage pack, which is a very simple saw bass, but it works well for like a rolling bass line. So I'm going to pick A as my root note, and let's just put in a very simple pattern like this. Very basic, and then put it on top of the kick right here. Let's add some effects to this bass. I want to add an OTT for some more multiband compression, and let's set the depth at around 20%. That should work. Something like that. And let's also add a kickstart for some sidechaining, because now it sounds really bad together with the kick. As you can hear, it clashes a lot, so we're using sidechain for that. And let's use a pretty steep curve and drag it to the right a little bit more. That works. I'm going to add another bass layer on top of this, which will be this sound. It's a preset called Deserted from our Voyage pack as well. And it's a little bit more of a wider bass, and I'm going to use it as a top bass with some which adds some accents to the bass. Let's try and find a nice pattern for this. I think that can work, maybe like this. I think that sounds great. Now let's mix this a little bit better. First of all, I'm going to add an EQ to remove the low end, because the other bass is already taking care of that. So now I'm going to just remove everything until like 90 Hz maybe. A little bit more. So all of the sub frequencies are taken care of by the other bass. And let's also cut a little bit more of the high end. And let's add a kickstart on this as well for some sidechaining, but this time a little bit less, because it's just a top bass, so it doesn't clash that much with the kick. Alright, so I think that sounds good for now. Let's move on and start with the lead sound of the track. For that, I will be using this big super saw sound. The preset is called Empire. Very big roomy sound that you can hear in a lot of modern melodic techno tracks. The melody for this lead will be something like this. So let's put it in a new pattern so we can start creating the melody there. in order to edit triplets, I'm switching the grid up like this. So I'm selecting the 1/6 beat here, or maybe even the 1/3 beat, that's easier. And now over here you can see there are 3 notes in this grid, which means a triplet. And maybe over here we should go to the A. This lead sound has a velocity modulation inside Serum, and in this way you can control probably the cutoff with the velocity. In this way you can create a nice pattern. You can also like automate it with an automation clip, but it's maybe easier to do it just in a MIDI like this. I'm gonna start with a more closed cutoff at the start of the melody, then slowly build it up. That should work. Now let's add it on top of the bass here. Let's process this lead by adding an EQ. Remove a little bit of the low end. Boosting some highs. Something like that. For some more multiband compression, I'm adding once again an OTT, and let's check out to what percentage we should set the depth. Something like that, just a little bit. I want to make this lead a little bit more stereo, and to do this in FL Studio you can go to your mixer and then you have this stereo separation knob. So if you drag it to the right, it will become mono. And if you drag it a little bit more to the left, you increase the stereo separation, which makes it more stereo. I'm just gonna boost it a little bit to like 30%. Something like that. Now I'm going to add a big reverb that I want to automate. So at the end of the melody here, the reverb wet level will go up. I'm using a Valhalla vintage verb for that, and let's just select the preset that I made, which is big reverb lead. Pretty long decay time and a pretty high mix or wet level. And now I want to automate the wet level of the plugin. So in that way you can create like a sidechained reverb, but then like manually. So then the reverb goes on for longer when the melody stops, and it creates this big atmospheric feeling. So I'm creating this automation clip right here. Now, and then after the last note hits, it should like open up. I think that should work. Let's decrease the volume of this lead. And let's add a kickstart to this for a little bit of sidechaining, but not too much. Let's copy this a few times over, like so. Now I want to add a counter melody, which plays in this part over here, and then in this part over here as well, like right here. So let's create that, create a new pattern, and I'm using this really interesting lead for that. The preset is called Masterminds, and it has some very interesting modulations going on, which I'll explain. The lead itself, it's very simple because it's just a saw lead with some white noise, but there is an LFO modulation going on the filter cutoff of the lead. And the rate of this LFO changes over time, so you can create this very interesting like texture to it. We did this by putting LFO 1 on the filter cutoff and then using another LFO to modulate the rate of this first LFO. So this is LFO 2, and then it modulates the rate here. So it goes up and then down again. Then there is another like LFO which adds a little bit of modulation on the fine tuning, so it sounds a little bit more analog, and another LFO which adds some panning modulation but nothing crazy. For the effects there is some distortion on it and a little bit of chorus to make it wider, but that's all actually. Let's put in a melody for this lead sound. I already know what it's going to be. We'll start over here. In the second part, I want to put it up 1 octave like this. Or some like variations and build it up even more. So we have to extend this right here. Let's mix this lead so it blends a little bit better with the rest of the track. First of all, I'm going to add an EQ and remove everything until like 150 Hertz or something. Maybe boost a little bit of the highs. A fruity reverb too for some reverb. Let's create a big size, add some low cut. And let's put the decay time pretty high until like 6 seconds or something. And now I'm going to add a peak controller, a fruity peak controller, which is a stock Fruity Loops plugin. And I'm adding this to the reverb to create a sidechained reverb effect. There are tons of tutorials online that will show you this trick, so I'm not gonna go really in detail on that right now. Let's link it to controller, set peak, and then hit inverted like this. Now increase the bass and the tension a little bit. After the lead stops playing, it creates this reverb swell because of the sidechain. And let's add a kickstart for some simple sidechaining. The next thing I'm going to add is a bass step, which will play in this part. So it will be like bam bam. Let's create a pattern for that, and I'm using this preset in Serum, also from our Voyage pack called Vortex. Very simple stab sound. Let's put it into a pattern and wait, it's still on triplet grid, so let's set it to the normal grid right now. It should work and copy it on every part. It's not right, it should be here. Add some effects to it. First a little bit of EQ. Duck in a little bit of the low end. And let's boost some high mids. Right here. Then some distortion with Decapitator. To add some extra warmth. Add an OTT can also work for this. To make this bass step hit a little bit better, I'm going to add a fill to it and a drum hit. This is a fill from our Voyage pack, and it's this very cinematic hit, like tom drum. And the use of these like cinematic toms is something that you can hear in the Mrak tracks as well. I'm adding another layer to it with this taiko drum hit. And then together with the bass step. There's a very dramatic impact. I quickly added some simple drums. First of all, I added this percussion loop here. This one, and it plays the same like rhythm as the bass. Adds some nice texture to the bass as well. Then after 8 bars, a head loop comes in. Very simple, together with an open head that plays every offbeat. And then in like the outro of the drop, I added a clap and a snare. Also very basic stuff. And this percussion loop for some extra like variation. Let's copy the kick as well. In the outro, I'm going to add an arpeggio, and for that I will use this sound. Let's put it into a pattern, like this. Then just copy it all over. And it could be cool to automate the decay time of this lead sound. So let's create an automation clip for the decay. Hit create automation clip right here. And then we can make it a little bit more interesting. Start a little bit higher. Something like that, and then just copy it again here. Alright, I quickly added some effect sounds like this impact, some white noise downlifters, and this like sweep sound, just to like help with the impact and energy of the drop, make some smoother transitions, and then simple rolling snare fill. There's also some ambient sounds in there, like this one, just like a Foley recording, or some extra ambience, and this atmosphere, which stays on the root note of the track, and it helps with like the ambience. I also created a buildup, which I will explain to you right now. There are some of the elements in there from the drop, but also some new elements, which I will show you. For the synths, first of all, there's this arpeggio, which we also used in the drop. Then there is this pad bass kind of sound, which sounds like this. Very dramatic. And as you can see right here, it changes up the notes a little bit. So first of all, it starts off with the root note of the track, which is A. But then instead of like staying on the A, it goes down to the F and then to the G to create a nice progression. But then during the real build-up part, it stays on the A, create tension. Then there is this pad lead sound, which is pretty high. Also to make it very cinematic and dramatic. It's a preset from our Voyage pack called Sphere. And the only effects that I put on there are the effects of Serum. So there is a delay on there and a big reverb to create a very big atmosphere and make it more in the background of the track. Then we have the counter lead from the drop there. Some ambient sounds and impacts for the effects here, which are the same for drop. Then the actual build-up starts, which introduces the main lead sound, the supersaw lead from the drop. It has an automation for the cutoff on there. So as you can see over here, the cutoff is closed first to create tension and don't give the listeners immediately the full lead, but like build it up like that. There's also a new automation on the arpeggio, which automates decay just like the drop, but then a little bit bigger. It gets longer and longer. And then at the end it goes really short again. Like that. And then there is a high pass filter for the pad or bass sound. So the drop has a better impact in terms of the bass. There are also some simple drum fills like this one. It's a rolling snare that I use in the drop as well, but then longer. So like it just builds up. And another fill. To like build it up even more. Then we got some simple white noise uplifters. And a synth riser, which you can hear in a lot of Mrak tracks as well. Just pretty basic build-up stuff. Just before the drop hits, there's also this synth fill sound. Which has a nice pitch bend modulation. It's actually a preset from Arpeggio Voyage, which is called Lead Mystical. And it already has this pitch bend modulation on there with LFO 3. It perfectly fits for a drop and like sweeps you into it. Mrak likes to use spoken word samples in his tracks to tell like a story, and he likes to sample from movies or older tracks. For this one, I sampled a scene from The Matrix, the first movie, which is a really famous scene right here on YouTube.
You feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know.
So I sampled that part, cut it up so it fits with the track. Without any effects, it sounds like this.
What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world.
In the original recording, there was quite a lot of background noise, so I put it into an AI vocal enhancer from Adobe called Adobe Podcast, and in that way, like, made the vocal a little bit more clear, so a lot of the noise is removed.
What you know you can't explain, but you feel it.
It was easier to put my own effects on it. For the effects, there is an EQ on here.
What you know you can't explain.
Another EQ to make it sound a little bit more like the radio. A FabFilter Pro C for some compression.
What you know you can't explain.
And a delay 3.
What you know you can't explain, but you feel it.
Make it more spacey. And then a reverb as well.
What you know you can't explain.
Give the big
but
atmosphere.
You feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there. Like a splinter in your mind.
And then the drop hits, so that really fits well on this track and gives it the really Mrak vibe. And that's everything for this Mrak style track. This is then the final result.
can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind.
I hope you could learn a thing or two after watching this video. Let us know in the comments down below what other melodic techno or melodic house artists we should do next, and we can cover that in our upcoming videos. For now, I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.